Fun fact, in high school, we didn't have a football team. We had an ultimate frisbee team. Whew. Talk about some bullshit. Grateful to be here. Gratitude is something that can immediately raise your frequency, raise your vibration. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to sit here, close our eyes, and I want everybody watching this video just to think of all the things that you're grateful for in your life. Okay. Finish thinking about those things, you go open your eyes, and basically gratitude, thinking of things you're grateful for, seems simple, but it really can change your mood. It can really take you from being in a really dark place or in a bad place, just really downing yourself, to immediately shifting in a matter of seconds, making you think about, wow, like I really do have things that not everybody has. And it's kind of like glass half full, glass half empty analogy. In life, you can always look at things from an optimistic point of view, or you could look at it from a pessimistic point of view. So, which one are you going to be? Right now, with social media, everything is amplified. Things are feeling more intense as if ever because of more people are awakening to the lies that we've been told in the media by, some of the major media outlets, government. I'm sure a lot of people are now hearing about these files, Epstein files, and these government files being released. This is really just the tip of the iceberg, because we're starting to see now that the truth is coming out. There's a saying that the truth always comes out in time. So it's only a matter of time before the light comes out to shine. And we're seeing that right now. But this is, like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Things are changing. The way we look at reality is about to change. A lot of things that we take for granted, a lot of things, systems that are in place, lots of methods for how we live our lives are going to change, and that may be considered a scary thing for lots of people. But same mentality, from a positive point of view, this could be an amazing shift. We're in an exciting time right now that we're lucky to see. That you could see that this has never really happened the way it's happened like this before in history. Sure, we've gone through some times of change, sometimes some dark times, some times of global pandemics, like we've seen about 4 years ago with COVID. We've gone through that before. We've gone through war. And imagine those people. Imagine those people who you hear, even today, you hear gunshots, you hear cannons going off, things exploding. You don't know if you're going to live another day. But guess what? People have done that. People have lived through that, and they're still here. You're still here if you're watching this video. So that just shows you that every day is a blessing. No matter if you had a bad day at work, you're going through a tough time in your relationship, you just can't seem to get yourself on the right track. It's always important to remind yourself that, hey, you're still here and great things are here. The light is still always going to shine throughout your darkness if you can tune in and see it. Can you see the light? There's a quote, and all of this comes down to belief and your frequency. What is your frequency you're vibrating on, and what are your beliefs? It makes me think of a story about Jesus. There's a quote in the Bible where Jesus pretty much says, when he was going around doing these miraculous miracles, healing people, healing the sick, but when he went back to his old town, there's a quote in the Bible that says he could do no miracles because nobody believed him. because they just saw him as a carpenter. They saw him as someone who they saw growing up, and they just did not believe that he could do any of these things. They didn't believe the story. So therefore, in his own hometown, he could do no miracles because nobody believed. So that's really what reality is. Reality is not, oftentimes people say seeing is believing, but in reality, it's really believing is seeing. So what do you believe? Take this time now to really question your beliefs and ask yourself, did I get these beliefs myself? Did I formulate these beliefs from my own conscious um, thought process, or was I handed these beliefs? Do I still hold on to these beliefs even though I never really processed or thought about them? So take this time to really meditate on your beliefs. What beliefs currently are no longer serving you, you know? And for me, just like anybody else, I have to take the time to really not only think about it but meditate on that, because sometimes it's a process. It's a lifelong process. It's not one day to the next. Um, but the more you sit with those beliefs, the more you practice consciously thinking about those beliefs instead of just operating on matrix programming, just operating like an NPC, they say, just not thinking, just going through life based off of whatever I've been told. And, sometimes we're told good things, sometimes we're told things out of lies, out of fear. So, fear based beliefs are going to lead us to being in fear. It all comes down to your beliefs and your vibration. What is your vibe? If you have a good vibe, you're likely going to attract people with that same positive vibe. But if you have a bad negative vibe, a vibration of fear, everything around you is just going to represent and mirror that. Be honest with ourselves. What am I vibrating at? Am I really vibrating at a frequency of fear? Am I really upset? And it's okay. And I think that's another thing. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be upset. We can't lie to ourselves and say, oh, I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm in a good mood. Everything's all right. I'm not scared. When clearly inside, every cell in your body knows that's not true. And other people, if they're in tune with their energy, they'll pick up on that and they'll feel that. And the world around you will just mirror back to you what you know about yourself that you're either denying or just not looking at close enough. So this is a time where we all need to really do some deep reflection and also just be honest with ourselves right now, because if we want to see where we're going, we have to be able to fully see where we're at, and then we can make those positive changes that need to happen in order to put ourselves on the highest timeline possible and to help achieve our goals. So once we get an idea of what those beliefs are that are holding us back about ourselves, about the world, then we can get more specific into how we can move and create the reality that we want. But until those beliefs, those negative beliefs that sometimes hold us back, are released, it's hard to move anywhere. And that's why a lot of times we can get that feeling of being in quicksand, that feeling of we can't move, can't go anywhere, we're just stuck. No matter what we do, we're not making progress. But in reality, that's the universe probably telling us to stop, slow down. You've been ignoring something for way too long, and it's time to look within. Your outside reality is not going to change until you look within, because your outside reality is just a mere reflection of what's going on the inside. So you take a slow, deep breath. You start to really analyze, not from a place of fear, but from a place of gratitude, from a place of calmness. And then slowly every day start to analyze those fears until they, you might not get rid of them right away, but eventually you'll be able to conquer those fears, just like anything in life. With time and with the positive mindset and perseverance, you will conquer those things. We're in an epic time, epic time. And why? Why do I feel like we're in an epic time right now to be alive? Because it's a choice. It's ultimately a choice. If you decide today, tonight, that it's really not an epic time to be alive. It's not, you know, it's not a good time to be alive. You know, who's to say you're right or wrong? But I know for me, I want to live a life that's fulfilling. I know what I want. And I feel like each one of us deep down has something that we desire. And it's for a reason, because we deep down subconsciously know there's a reality in which it's true. And I believe that um, we oftentimes talk about the world we're on as if it's one world, one earth, one concrete life, when we forget that this reality, this universe is multidimensional. And that's not something that's often talked about in mainstream media and your history books, but from my understanding, from my inner knowingness, and just, from things that I've heard before, you know, it really resonated with me. We live on a multi-dimensional reality, and we are multi-dimensional beings. So every single one of us has a different timeline, and those timelines interconnect. But that means that when someone says, oh, you're living in your own world, you're in your own reality, it's true, because everyone is in their own world. It's an illusion to think that we all live on the same world. Everyone's experiencing reality slightly different. We could be seeing the same exact thing, but I'm going to see it differently than you are. That's just the nature of reality. And there's an analogy that I've heard that describes this perfectly. Think of a television, think of a TV station or a television. Um, when you're watching TV, you know there's only one program on, one channel, one movie on, but you know subconsciously that's not the only channel in the TV. There could be thousands of channels in the TV, but you can only see that one channel because that's the channel you're tuned into. So think about that in terms of dimensions or life. There's infinite dimensions and different realities, but you can only perceive one right now because that's the one you're tuned into. So when we talk about Earth and, oh, the world, there can be somebody living in a state of fear saying, oh my God, World War III, we're going to we're all gonna die. This is terrible. And somebody right next door, the neighbor, can say, oh my goodness, like, life is beautiful. I live in paradise and everything is, I'm so grateful. They're literally living right next to each other, but one person is literally on a different energy, different frequency. Therefore, they experience their life completely different than the person literally living next door. So if you've ever heard space is illusion, time is an illusion, also reality is an illusion. But that illusion is real, and it's really being created by you. And we're in a co-creation. So there are other people. Doesn't mean you're necessarily by yourself, but the way you perceive those other people is a projection that you're creating by yourself. So in a way, everyone who you know is technically you, or a version of you that you're perceiving. I really just wanted to come on to introduce to you guys some of these um, ways of thinking, and also if it resonates with you, please like this video, comment, subscribe, and follow, because I'm going to be doing more videos like this on a daily basis. And I think this is really a time where we all have to come together. You know, we have to build new communities. We have to build new systems, because we can clearly see that the systems set in place right now are starting to fall because they're corrupt, because we see that they're often built by lies. And those lies, when enough people come together and see through the illusion, they break, they crumble. So we're in a time of awakening, but we're also in a time of building and rebuilding. And right now, we have an opportunity to rebuild something very powerful together that is high vibrational, built on coherence and truth. And if you're someone who resonates with that and wants to be a part of this journey with us, with me, and in our brand, please hit that subscribe button, follow us, and stay tuned for more content and more videos.